a brisk morning in early April. In New Jersey, the days are getting warmer and more humid, but the nights are still frosty. Gina Talt, the Food Systems Project Manager at Princeton University, steps out of her down-campus office and drives a pickup truck through the dewy morning.
My name is Gina Talt. I'm the class of 2015. I studied economics and environmental studies on campus.
As the Food Systems Project Manager, Gina oversees the Sustainable Composting Research at Princeton, or S.C.R.A.P lab. It's part of a larger idea that Princeton University is investigating called Campus's Lab, which seeks to address some of the world's most pressing sustainability issues through local, student, and faculty-oriented involvement. The idea first took root with the lab's opening in 2018, and its operation has been at work since then, undergoing a brief pause during COVID and some new operation changes recently, but more on that later. Currently, the entirety of S.C.R.A.P's operation is run by Gina and staffed by a handful of student workers who help carry, sort, and load the lab's composter.
It was the director of the Office of Sustainability at the time's idea. She was starting the program in our office called Campus's Lab, which aims to demonstrate solutions to sustainability problems by using the campus as our living laboratory.
The problem at hand that S.C.R.A.P is trying to address is, at face value, food waste. But larger than that, S.C.R.A.P hopes to address global climate change through its local food waste solution.
So one of the biggest issues about 10 years ago was organics recycling and food waste management. So it's a global sustainability challenge. On the environmental side, if food waste were a country, it would rank third behind the US and China as the largest emitter of global greenhouse gas emissions.
According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, over one-third of the food produced in the United States is never eaten. In the 2024 and 2025 academic year, Princeton University produced over 1.5 million meals across both its dining halls and its food gallery at the university's Frist Campus Center. Using the national average, one can estimate that about 500,000 meals go wasted per year. For food waste that goes to landfills, that creates a problem. The EPA estimates that despite making up 24% of landfill waste, food waste contributes up to 58% of the methane emitted from landfills. That methane poses a serious greenhouse gas contribution and a serious global climate change threat.
Food waste diversion efforts and organics recycling projects like this keep food out of the landfill. When that happens, it produces methane, which, depending upon the time frame, can be about 80 times more potent than CO2 in the atmosphere, and that contributes to climate change. So, it's a global issue.
So how can we address that climate change threat through local action? Though the food waste going to landfills creates a global problem, S.C.R.A.P presents one local solution for food waste that doesn't go to landfills. According to numbers from Princeton Dining, the university diverts about half of its landfill-bound dining hall food waste to composting operations every year, equaling about 455 tons. In addition, 4 tons of waste every year are sent to the S.C.R.A.P lab. Though this number is small in comparison, it's astronomically large when you consider the scale of the S.C.R.A.P lab. While the large, off-site composting center Trenton Renewables takes a heavy lift in turning dining hall food waste into renewable energy, premium compost, and food packaging, S.C.R.A.P punches above its weight by handling food from the campus's student center, coffee shops, and special events. The output of S.C.R.A.P's small-scale operation is a higher quality compost that larger composting facilities cannot achieve.
We were just seeing how large-scale facilities were failing, regionally, and it gave the idea for how to demonstrate more decentralized solutions to composting infrastructure.
So how does it do it? We'll let Gina walk us through the process of processing coffee grounds and food scraps from an on-campus event.
Just going to double-check that there's no contaminants. I'm going to weigh the bucket. It's important that these are all what's called BPI compostable. That's a third-party certification that guarantees that these products can break down in commercial-scale composting facilities. This looks like cold brew, maybe grounds.
Once the waste is weighed and checked for contaminants, it's on to an industrial-grade shredder. She also adds in wood shavings to balance the nitrogen-heavy waste and improve aeration in the composting process. Finally, the machine is given a spin to mix the new additions with the existing compost. The compost will sit for a while in the machine and is offloaded at the end of the semester and placed in piles where it's ready to be used across campus as compost.
Material will spend some time inside the composting vessel where it will undergo aerobic decomposition. So microbes will help break down the carbon and the nitrogen from the coffee grounds into a stable product that can be used as a soil amendment called compost.
Scrap's output is extremely high quality and can be seen and smelt during the large-scale landscaping operations that take place every spring on Princeton's campus and the rich vegetation that is sustained by it throughout the year.
You'll see the grounds crew start to apply mulch and compost to lawns or for planting mediums for trees, and it helps make our soil and plants more resilient, so we don't have to apply things like synthetic fertilizers or herbicides to cure diseases, so the plants become strong and healthy.
In addition to producing high-quality compost, Scrap also achieves, of course, less food sitting in landfills, and therefore less methane warming our planet. When you look around campus now, you can see how something as simple as the coffee you order can turn into something more. From your cup, to its waste, to compost, the food you consume becomes the main character of a life cycle that Princeton is trying to strengthen to combat food waste, and more largely, combat climate change. According to the EPA's food waste greenhouse gas calculator, the 4 tons of waste that Scrap processes every year constitutes a savings of 31 tons of greenhouse gas by 2050. In these numbers, we see how local solutions like Scrap can make a huge difference to global climate change. Imagine if even just a percentage of college campuses across the United States had something similar to Scrap, and the massive reductions in greenhouse gases that would result. Unfortunately, these solutions are not guaranteed. In the wake of Doge-era funding cuts to research and higher education, Scrap has faced restrictions in how much waste it can process. They've had to cut back their staffing substantially to just Gina and a handful of student employees. Scrap actually used to process even more waste beyond its current 4 tons before the funding cuts, and the future of politics leaves Scrap and similar small-scale composting operations and their important work at danger. They've been able to continue operating at a reduced scale, but as of now, their operations for expanding the lab's impact remain limited beyond analyzing the data they've already collected during Scrap's operation. By continuing to support operations like Scrap, you can continue to support local solutions to global climate change. You can volunteer for facilities like Scrap, or start up similar campuses lab projects of your own.
As an institution like Princeton, we're trying to demonstrate sustainable practices for students to learn about, so that when they go off in the real world, they can advocate for similar solutions. Yeah, I think for me, over the last few years, I've been able to work side by side with undergrad student assistants, and they've always impressed me about their willingness to literally get their hands dirty and work on real world sustainability problem solving, and that gives me hope for the next generation. And I think for a liberal arts school like Princeton, where a lot of classes are conceptual, I think students are hungry for more applied projects, and we give them the opportunity here.
As long as we stay hungry for these kinds of opportunities, we stay hungry at a chance for bettering our local communities and our planet.